Alright, another update that I'm pleased to talk about. So, about a year ago today, I was watching the news. I was glued to the news just like the rest of the world. And one story really saddened me. It had nothing to do with the pandemic, but it really saddened me. I think one of the state governors, it was either Florida or California, was very upset about how colleges were letting out during spring break, and the kids would just go to the beach and spread COVID-19, and how much it was gonna, how much devastation that was gonna cause. And when I looked at it, I wasn't terribly concerned about the pandemic at that point. If anything, I blamed the college students for eating so much junk food and poisoning their immune systems to the point that they become a vector of disease. I didn't blame them for going to spring break. I really didn't. I still hold that sentiment to this day, by the way. I'm more upset about what they're doing to their immune systems. If anything, I blame Corona beer, not coronavirus, for causing the pandemic. Really, I'm serious about it. Excessive drinking of Corona beer, right? That's a pandemic right there. Okay, but that's another story for another time. But I was disappointed at myself because I used to have a big fear of loud noises, loud environments. I had a big fear of not being able to control leaving an environment, right? If I go to the beach and I get hammered with Corona beer and I can't leave the area, I need to wait to sober up, or I need to wait for a ride. That's my big fear in terms of social situations. So when I saw the news story, I cried. This was a year ago now. It still brings me to tears to think about where I was a year ago. Okay, so we get through the worst part of the pandemic. By August, we're reopening to 25% capacity, and I took my first steps to getting over at least the fear of loud noises. I took up bowling. My first time at the bowling alley, I averaged about 80 to 90 points. But that wasn't the point. I wanted to start to get over, because it was only open at 25% capacity. It was easy for me to go to, and I remember looking forward to the day it would open to 50, and it did, and I went. And more importantly, when they opened to 50, they started doing the cosmic bowling again. And my first time to cosmic bowling, I remember thinking that this is going to be like a trip into space, because it's into the unknown, right? And I remember just before I had gone to that cosmic bowling, I was watching a documentary about the first space shuttle launch in 1981. And so when I went to the bowling alley that night, I remember thinking that these two men who went into space in 1981, they probably didn't even know if they would come back alive, right? And here I am on Earth, where I can leave that bowling alley anytime I want to if things get too rough, right? And these two men didn't have the privilege of doing that, right? One day when I go to an event where I'll be drinking, I won't have the luxury of leaving whenever I want. That will be kind of like a trip into space, right? I'll probably try that someplace. I won't drink excessively, but drinking one or two Corona beers and having to wait for a ride or to wait to sober up to leave, that I might do. But I need to get over that fear, because at some point I need to meet the right person in my life to mingle and to start a business, or to find a life partner, or even just to network with the people I work with, right? I see a lot of my coworkers, I hate to use this phrase, but some of them really do drink their way to the top. And that's something that I'll have to deal with at some point. Obviously not excessively, but anyway, it's been a year, and that was good inspiration. I'm glad that it turned out that way. Sometimes we take inspiration in the wrong way, right? Obviously, the governor wasn't talking about social anxiety, but it was a good inspiration for me.